Right, here we are. We are live. 1 second, let me just get rid of this thing. What's this? Oh, maybe I can't get rid of it. Well, the comments and stuff will cover it up. So we've got Crap in the Attic in here. Hi there. I will explain why it's a Wednesday in a minute. I'll just wait for a few more people to jump in. But yeah, do you like my title? What was it? I've forgotten it already. These what was it? These bank holidays are really throwing me off or something. I don't know, but I thought it was quite funny. I was going to put Wednesday Talks, but then I thought, oh no, but if I put Wednesday Talks, it'll just be a bit weird. It'll look a bit weird in the episodes, like the episode list. Oh, we've got Fake Rachel in. I don't know whether you've been in for a while, so hi there, good to see you. We've got Gemma Lou in there, hi there. 4 people watching, 1 thumbs up. Don't forget, smash the old thumbs up. So yeah, I'm going to try my best to only stay on for half an hour, 45 minutes today, because I've got quite a lot to do this afternoon, so we will see. You never know, because you know what happens, people get chatting. I've said it many a time. How many times have I said it? Oh, I'll just stay on for 30 minutes today, and then it ends up being like over an hour, but Stephen Bennett's in there, hi there. I didn't think we'd have so many people in already, considering that it's not a Thursday, I was only expecting about 10 people in or so, but we've already got 9 or 10 now, which is incredible after 2 minutes. We've got Sparrow's End in there, hi there. We've got Money Mental, hi there. Who else? Lil and Alf, I don't know whether I mentioned. Tracy's in there. Yeah, quite a few people actually. 10 people now. What is not Thursday? What do you mean? What is not? Do you mean why isn't it on a Thursday? I will cover that. It's very, very mundane. It's nothing, crazy or anything. Follow me on Instagram. Little plug for my Instagram at adsrobo96. If you follow me, if you don't, go over there because I do like daily stories and stuff, and it's just extra content for you guys, like opposed to just the YouTube stuff. Because to be honest, it's weird. I've kind of drawn in the YouTube stuff compared to the Insta stuff. Like I do a lot more on Instagram now than I do on YouTube, but it was the other way around, or it used to be. But yeah. So anyway, reason. Tomorrow, I got invited out by my grandparents to go for lunch. So, I can't say no to them or anything. I wouldn't want to say no. And I'm not going to let Thursday Talks get in the way of that. But you guys know, as well as me, how OCD I am, or how, what is it? Maybe even clingy is the right word. But just how attached I am to doing Thursday Talks. I like to do it. I want to do it. You guys expect me here on a Thursday every week, and I like to meet that expectation. Of course, this week it's a Wednesday, but at least I've done it. At least I've got it done. So, yeah, that's basically the reason why. So I'm going to enjoy a nice meal out tomorrow with those at lunchtime with my grandparents. So, yeah, that's basically it. So I thought I'd come on today, see if anyone is... I only just realised it's a Wednesday, yeah. What day is it? Yeah, it's Wednesday. We know it's Wednesday. Oh, God, we're going to have about 10 people in the chat go, it's Wednesday, don't you know? Yeah, we know it's Wednesday. We're all aware it's Wednesday. I've not had some sort of early midlife crisis which lets me forget what day it is, I'm not some sort of... I've not like grown into like a really, really old person who doesn't know what day it is, Stephen might have been iffy. Yeah, sales have been a bit weird this weekend. Now, we've got to attribute that down to the good weather, to be honest, or some of it down to the good weather. I mean, come on, it's been really, really nice. It's only just it's still sunny today a little bit, but it's more overcast. So we have to attribute it a little bit down to down to the good weather. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, Monday was okay for me. Sunday I think was okay. They're not brilliant, but around that £100, which is where I kind of like to be. Some days I don't get there, other days I get over there. But no, I think Sunday and Monday I was around that, so it's not terrible considering the weather was pretty poor. But then, was it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday was terrible. Yesterday was absolutely atrocious. So, one sale a day, but I had 2 yesterday. Yeah, it's been pretty slow recently. Let me have a look. Oh, if you got any questions or anything, as always, just whack them in. Alan's in there. Hi there. We've got Louise in there. David, who I don't think I've seen before. So hi there if you're new to the live stream. Maybe we're picking up a few new people because it's a Wednesday. I don't know. I thought you or I was confused with the Thursday thing. No, well, I suppose somewhat I'm confused with it, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm not necessarily completely confused with it, but I can't do it on a Thursday this week. Dave says, edit the title. Why? What title? What are you on about? Edit the title. Why? It says, right. Oh, Thursday. No, you know why I've done that? I explained before. Well, somewhat. I want the titles to flow. I want them all to say Thursday Talks. So I don't want to put Wednesday Talks, because if I put Wednesday Talks, I'm going to have to put Wednesday Talks episode 1, because it's not Thursday Talks, is it? But it's actually Thursday Talks on a Wednesday. So that's how I get away with calling it Thursday Talks and putting episode 170 again. See? Logic. Wednesday Talks episode 1. I'm not doing it, Dave. I'm not doing it. I don't want it to be episode 1 of Wednesday Talks. God damn it. Do resellers need like a few income streams? This question has been on my mind for ages. Haven't I covered this in an episode of Thursday Talks for like 4 or 5 weeks ago? I'm not sure. I'm just thinking. I'm pretty sure I covered this. Like, was there not an episode, people in the chat, that where it's entitled, do resellers need additional income streams or something? I don't know. I think I've covered it. No, because that episode was on a Friday. Why? What are you on about now? The one that happened on a Wednesday. Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually. But yeah, so if you've got any questions, throw them in. As I say, I will stick around for a little bit, but I probably won't stick around for a full hour at this point, because, as I say, I've got bits and bobs to do this afternoon. Also, I don't know whether I mentioned my auntie's coming as well this afternoon, so I have to work around that. So, yeah, and my grandma came this morning. So, I've had my grandma, my auntie, and then I've got my other grandparents tomorrow. So, I'm fitting in wherever I can at the minute, you know. I did a few listings this morning. It's not been too bad for listing this week. I did 10 on Monday, 10 on Tuesday. I've done 5 so far today, so it's not been too bad, really. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions or anything. Yeah, so if you've got any questions, throw them in. If not, I really don't know what to talk about. I've not really got anything to talk about. Best find of 2019 so far. Oh, that figure. You know, that NECA figure. That's brand new sealed NECA figure that I got for £6.50. And I think I've got it listed for 130 quid or something. That's got to be the best one so far. Don't know whether there's been anything else over 100 quid. There might be 1 or 2 items that I found over 100 quid this year, but not many. But yeah, that one's got to be the highlight for me. That was awesome. I don't know whether, did I include, yeah, I did include it in a haul video, didn't I? I don't know whether, actually, no, is that haul, oh no, I might have shot myself in the foot. Is that haul video even out yet? Oh God, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe it is out yet. Yeah, I think it might be out. But this is a problem, because I schedule all my videos, as most of you will be aware now. I don't know whether it's actually come out yet, and I'm like, oh God, have I just told everyone about that when it's not even come out? But anyway, if I have, then it doesn't matter, does it? But oh, I just got a sale there, $9.95. I don't know what it is though. I just see the PayPal notification. But yeah, so that NECA figure, brand new and sealed, Lord of Darkness or something it was. And yeah, it turns out it's worth quite a lot of money. So I think I paid £6.50 or 6 quid. Did you buy all the chocolate eggs in the sales ad? No, I didn't actually. Right, I was thinking about it, and I was going to do it. I was like, I'll do it again this year. On the Saturday and the Sunday, I was thinking, oh, you know what, I'll go down on the Monday and do it. But I got, like, over the course of the weekend and before the weekend, people were giving me Easter eggs and stuff, and I was like, yeah, but I'm just doing it for the fun of doing it. Like, if I do it, like, if I actually buy all the eggs, I'm just doing it for the fun of going down and buying that many eggs. I don't think I would end up eating them all this year like I did. Like, I didn't even eat them all last year, but I ate a good portion over a period of time. So yeah, I just didn't bother doing it. Like I could have gone down, and I said in a vlog ages ago, but what I would like to do in the future is like be someone who goes into a supermarket, gets like a load of reduced stuff, and then drops it off at like a charity. I'd like to do that, and I could have done it. I could have gone down that route, like just got like 30-40 quid worth of Easter eggs, gone down to some charity of some sort, maybe a children's charity or something, and dropped them off there and just done that, and it would have been quite nice. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't bother. I don't know. Just didn't bother. But saying that, will I do it next year? Probably. I'm definitely going to do it when I have kids. Like, when I have kids, I'm going to do it, like, crazy. But I'll either ration the chocolate, like, loads so that then it teaches them discipline. Or I will basically give them a few and then drop some others off at a charity or something. But I really like this idea of buying things for charity instead of like putting your time and effort. You know who's done it before? I think Mr. Beast has done it, where he goes around like Walmart and stuff and just picks up like 10 grand worth of stuff and then just drops it off at a charity. I like that idea rather than like just writing a check or sending money away from to charity. I've just always been this person who, well, you know what it is? Well, this is what Freudian psychology would say. Now, I don't know whether this theory has been disproven at this point, but because I was very easy to potty train, I was very, very quick and easy to potty train. That's what my mum said anyway. So that means that I am is it an anal expulsive? I think it's an anal expulsive, which means that I naturally like to give stuff away, as if when I was potty training, it's like giving your shit away, essentially. I don't normally swear, but to hell with it. But yeah, so it's like giving that away in terms of psychological terms. So that's maybe why I like to give things away and like to have tangible things that I can be generous to people with, because I'm an anal expulsive opposed to an anal retentive who wouldn't like that. But anyway, love that there's still so much to learn about you. What are you on about? Love that? I know that. I know that. Anal, it doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean anything to do with sex or anything. Anal, it's a psychological term coined by bloody Freud. I would imagine it was coined by him anyway. But it's the Freudian psychosexual development of children. It's very interesting. It has the Oedipus complex in as well, or the Oedipus theory in, where children at a certain age become sexually attracted to their mother. Now, of course, many people have rejected that theory these days, and I would say like 95% I reject it, but I do think there's something in it. I do think on a psychological theory or psychological level, I think there's something in it that it maybe not as aggressive as maybe Freud would have imagined it was, but I think that there's something in it. I really do. And obviously, it's basically a way of, the Oedipus complex is a way that you assign gender roles to the specific genders. So the male will copy the dad, because obviously somewhat in his brain he wants to attract the woman, so he copies his dad because he knows his dad has already attracted the woman, something like that. So then the child is then assigned the gender role of the male, and the female does it like in an opposite way or a very similar way. Ads, you're confusing me enough on the wrong day. You're really losing me now. It's not that hard. Just go on Google and it's easy. It's not hard. Like this stuff, this is like basic psychology that at the moment I'm learning and I'm enjoying it, but it just doesn't give me enough. Like I want to really dig down into the human psyche. I want to really dig out all of this crap, because it's interesting. Shadow work as well with Carl Jung. I always say Carl Jung. It's Carl Jung, isn't it? How you pronounce it? But shadow work is very interesting as well, and anime and animus, and the idea of the persona, which is very, very similar to the idea of like the ego, or maybe like not necessarily just ego, but a mask, like a social mask. It's very, very, very interesting. It's not that hard. That's what she said. Oh, come on, Dave. Come on, Dave. My God, terrible, disgusting. Oh, you have to I'm doing good intellectual work here. You can't say you don't learn something on Thursday Talks. Every week, people are like, oh, you just go off on one. No. Well, some people do, not everyone. But, oh, you just go off on one and you never talk about reselling all this. Yes, but I'm teaching you stuff. You know, here you've got to expand your mind beyond just selling things on eBay at certain times. You've got to embrace all of life. You know, it's interesting. Have you think about going to work for somebody, get the same regularly and buy a house, then create a proper business but not living with parents? Yeah, but I just can't work for someone else. Like, I would love to do, there's other things that I'd love to do aside from reselling. I'd love to do philosophy, I'd love to do psychology, but I would never, ever do psychology or philosophy as an employed job. I would do my own research. Like, I would be like a rebel psychologist or a rebel philosopher who would like just be completely self-taught, and I'd just go around the country doing talks and stuff, and like doing lectures and stuff, and people would listen to me because I have ability, like I have faith in myself that I'd be able to teach myself well enough, but I would never like study, like do philosophy or psychology as like you know, an employed job. It would just be, oh god, that'd be horrendous. I couldn't do it. I couldn't have the same reason why, even if I was like really good at one field, and then someone asked me to be a university lecturer or a college lecturer or whatever, or get into the position where I could do that, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it because I feel tied down to one job, and I like the time to be my own. I like to dance through life. I don't like having too much responsibility and stuff. I like to, in the words of Alan Watts, I would be a gooey person rather than a prickly person, you know. But yeah, essentially, like I like that kind of dance. I never want to be tied down in my life. It's why my business cards that I produced don't have what I do on them, because I want people to be aware that I'm a person, I'm a human being, I'm not a human doing. That's a very good saying. In which I don't do things for people, or I don't do like a job. I just be, and I can be with you if you want, in terms of being in like a form of doing an activity, or being like in, I don't know, like just essentially being with you and being in a harmonious kind of dance of activity. That's what I'm kind of trying to say. It's hard to say it without saying doing, actually, but yeah. I have no clue what is going on, but I am very entertained. Oh, right, cool. Too much Alan Watts vids on YouTube. Yeah, Alan Watts is a difficult one, because you can very much go down the route of not wanting to, like, live in society if you watch too many of Alan Watts' videos, because, you know, like, the idea of, you know, in Hinduism of, like, the Vanaprastha, the person who essentially gives up worldly life and just essentially goes up to the forest and just pursues spirituality or whatever, that's a very, very attractive idea for me. But then, you know, if I were to do it, I'd probably get about 2 days and then I'd be like, yeah, I want my normal life back. So you've got to be careful with all this kind of stuff. Spiritual and psychology theory won't pay you more? Of course it will. God, there's tons of psychologists out there and spiritual teachers that like make a full-time, like more than a full-time living, like that can monetize it. You can monetize, and this is something that Alan Watts always says, you can monetize anything as long as you know, in terms of have a good skill with it. If you can learn a skill, you can monetize that skill. So if I can learn to be a very good philosopher, if I can learn to be a you know, a very good psychologist, I could pay. I mean, some of the psychologists and philosophers are going to get paid a crap ton. All it is, though, really is a confidence trick, because philosophy in itself, the basis of a good philosophy is just defining your own philosophy, because once you actually learn that everything in life, or close to everything except what you can actually fully be aware of and see in terms of the here and now, everything is just a concept made up by humanity, you then realise that actually the only way to live is how you damn well want to live. You know, you don't need to do what anyone says. You don't need to live how society tells you to say. You just live how you want to live. So philosophy is kind of like a confidence trick, or a very good philosopher can be very good at confidence trickery, because they actually tell you what they don't actually tell you that much. Like, it's very abstract, and really they only need to let you know or make you aware of freedom from concepts in order to live your best life, essentially. Because of course we know that mistakes, good and bad, positive and negative, things like this, are all a concept of human ideology, of human thought, of human society, and don't actually exist. There is nothing in the natural world that constitutes a mistake, or positive or negative or anything. However I drink my tea now, there's no mistake in it. You know, I could slurp it, I could not slurp it, I could tip it over my head, it wouldn't be a mistake, you know, because a mistake is formulated in human ideology, in human thought, and human thought it doesn't really exist. It's not really, it kind of exists, but it's not there. It's not actually, it's just all a concept, essentially, you know? This kind of idea of fear or guilt, you know, inside yourself because you're an individual self, that comes from within you, and you can tame that. The way you can tame your ego is, of course, by, like, exposing it, really exposing it for what it is in front of everyone, like saying, oh, I have this fear, I have this guilt, I have this thing. And that's again going back to the Jungian theory of shadow work, actually assessing what shadows you have, what things that are negative you have. So for me, I have a superiority complex, so it means I like to be superior than other people. So now, me saying that to you guys, I've exposed myself, and now I don't need to worry about that superiority complex, because everyone knows it exists. So everyone can, as well as myself, everyone else can be aware of it. And that awareness, when you shine that light of awareness on it, it becomes smaller. Just as you shine a light, like you shine a torch on a patch of darkness, the darkness goes away, or it recedes. The light destroys the dark. Very, very simple. Right, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Oh, because I get so anxious talking about it. I shouldn't do, because if I've tamed my ego, then anxiety shouldn't exist for me, but yet still it does. Very, very weird. I don't know how that works. Anyway, have we got any more questions? Ads reseller / psychologist who is fixing his own head. Yeah, I'm not just fixing my own head, though. I want to fix, like, everyone's head. I think that there's so many people out there who are completely blind to how they can be happy. Like, you don't need... There's too much emphasis on material wealth. That's the issue in our society and in Western culture in general these days. And too much kind of focus on material wealth will then create well, anxiety for one, feeling like you're not good enough, a sense of never being able to progress to the place that you want to progress, a sense of feeling like you never achieve success, because success is now somewhat undefinable, which it is anyway because it's a concept, but it's now even more undefinable in terms of the society we live in, because people just achieve more and more and more, and trying to get to this thing that doesn't actually ever really exist or ever manifest itself. When we get there, like, for example, if you want to do 10 grand turnover a month on eBay, you get there and you feel inferior, or you feel like, oh no, actually I need to get to 15 grand or 20 grand. So it's very, very bad in society, and I think technology is a major culprit of this. And I really do like to as resellers we want society to want material wealth. Yeah, I mean, I attribute to all this, I am fully aware of it, but there's nothing else I can do. You know, I like reselling. You know, I'm not saying material wealth is completely wrong. What I'm saying is people's attitudes towards material wealth is completely wrong. They need to see it for what it is, as just basically not worth anything. But they can live with it and use it as a tool. Like, you know, I understand all this. I don't care about a computer or a phone or anything like that. I don't have major attachment to it, but I use it as a tool. I come on here as a tool. You know, I come on here to help people out and stuff. I use all this as a tool, but don't go thinking that me or certain other people are necessarily too attached to it, you know. So you've got to, yeah, it's about it seems fundamental with what I've been learning, what I've been digging into, is this awareness, this self-awareness, this self-actualization. You know, whether you want to go down the route of spirituality to get there, whether you want to go down the route of religion, whether you want to go down the more scientific route of maybe looking into neuroscience or maybe psychology, however psychology isn't specifically a concrete science. You know, whatever route you wanted to go down to get there is fine. But you've got to realise that the end goal is always the same. And it resides in this awareness, this self-awareness, this self-actualization, this realization that you are essentially a lot more than just this material, and that you are more in tune with your environment than you ever may realize, you know, or you may realize, I don't know. Anyway. Oh crikey, has this talk got deep already? Yeah, well, I don't see it as deep. Everyone seems to see it as deep. I see it as fundamental. I think everybody should... and this is a very goo person statement, because obviously I'm a gooey person opposed to a prickly person. Prickly person likes everything to be regimented and likes responsibility. Gooey person just wants to be very responsibility free and just very dancing, like kind of like a hippie. But yeah, so I see it as fundamental. I see deep as fundamental, and that everyone should learn it because they get a better connection with actually who they are outside of this realm of thought, of human concept, of everything really, of everything we've created in society, you know, that we feel is, like, we even feel that the days of the week exist. The days of the week don't exist. They're just a concept. Someone decided we're going to call it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They don't exist. Every day is exactly the same. It's just you feel that a Wednesday is a Wednesday and you feel a Sunday is different somehow. But that's only because we've been ingrained from the day we were born that that's what it is. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But it's not there. It's nothing of the sort. There's no days of the week. It's ridiculous. But, you know, that you have to deprogram yourself from society. You have to get rid of all this crap that has been in your brain from society. It's very... And then what you can do, once you've got rid of all that crap, is you can go back into society, understanding it for what it is, which is a tool. All it is, all these concepts are just a tool. And they're very useful tools, really, but... you've got to learn to see them as just that, not something like this is your life, this is all, you know, completely what you need. It's not, it's the tool, a way to enhance your existence, let's say. Maybe that would do it justice, but yeah. Anyway, we should get off philosophy. I mean, I tell you, I could be so brilliant as a philosopher, I really could. I'd be like one of the best philosophers to ever live, and I know... And don't get me wrong, I've got complete self-awareness in the fact that I can't be the best philosopher ever lived, because the best, any sort of ranking system like that is a concept of human society anyway, so I understand that as well, so don't question me on that, you see. But then, you say, stepping back from that, I'm now living in my ego by trying to force on you guys the idea that I know what I'm talking about in that, so therefore I'm living in my ego. And it just goes back and back and back and back until you end up just exploding, because you're like, I can't be bothered doing all this, like, trying to cover, you know, what I'm meaning and my awareness and stuff to other people. This is why words are the most intriguing concept, because actually when you use words you just tie yourself up in more and more ego, whereas if you didn't use words and you were completely silent, then it would break down all the barriers of concepts that you could possibly have. Ads, how many Easter eggs did you get this year? I already answered that. I already answered that. That didn't get in clearance. Like, I don't know, like 8, 9, maybe 10. Maybe 10. Yeah, maybe 10 actually. What happened to the lunch with grandparents? Well, I discussed that, didn't I? I'm going to go for lunch with my grandparents tomorrow. It's not, I don't think anything, I need to talk about it that much, right? Tea's gone cold already, that's crazy. Oh, we're on 30 minutes now. I'll go for another 5 or 10 minutes and then I will leave it. Add my local church needs a new priest. Yeah. I have to say, I'm not too fond of Christianity. I'm sorry, I apologise if there's any Christians out there or whatever. But I just feel, without offending people, without going into my reasons too much, I just feel like there are things in Christianity that are... I feel like there's things in Christianity that are brilliant. And I've not looked into it incredibly. I'm not as clued up as... Like, I'm really good with Zen and Buddhism, and I'm okay with Hinduism and stuff, because I like Eastern religion more than Western. Which, again, is living in the concept of things being better than each other, but, I don't need to explain that. But yeah, so, I think there's brilliant stuff to Christianity. I think, like, things like the Ten Commandments and stuff, being love thy neighbour, all this kind of stuff, helping people, charitable. I think that's absolutely phenomenal, don't get me wrong. But the idea that there is a God that is, like, how do you say it? Anthropomorphic or anthropological, or however you say it. Basically, there's a God that is human in form. I find that very, very odd. I find that a very, very odd concept, and I think that has been distorted somewhat over time. And I don't know whether I should really say this, but I believe that Christianity, fundamentally, right in the bare bones of it, is exactly the same as the Hindu God, Buddhist gods, etc. Because in Buddhism or Hinduism, when you get down to the bare bones of it, they are merely essentially saying that the universe is one flowing of energy, and that energy behind all of this, that creates all of this, is God. And we are all a part of that energy, so we are all God. And I believe that that's what Christianity was originally trying to say, but now has got slowly distorted over time and stuff, and people have latched onto this idea of this God. Now, I know that Jesus came down and told people about God and everything, but he also said we are all the sons of God. Now, if we are all the sons of God, that's basically, we could be gods, But anyway, I'm going to go now, because I'm getting very, very anxious talking about this, because I have a lot of passion for it, and it gets me so anxious. But yeah, so, yeah, don't think there's anything much else to talk about. It's hard, isn't it? Christianity is a very interesting subject. Noah and Eve, Yoda, some bloke waking up, and all that stuff. It is very interesting. I love the idea of the biblical stories and stuff. And I say, I love a lot of fundamental things about Christianity: the kindness, the charity, all these kind of things that go hand in hand with Hinduism, Buddhism, other religions like that. I've not looked into Islam or anything like that, so I couldn't comment, but I would imagine that there's a lot about kindness and charity in that religion too. So, I think that the one thing that is very, very apparent to me is that between all the religions I've looked at, charity, kindness, selflessness, things like this are all common between them. So it seems like the one trait that we need to define in any personal philosophy that we develop is kindness, charitable, being selfless towards people, these kind of things, being loving, etc. Because they're the kind of common themes throughout religion. And I do really believe that we should define personal philosophies based on what we, and I express what we think is right in terms of living, because obviously we think it is right not to kill someone, because society agrees that we would not want to kill someone because they would suffer massively, etc. So we need to define things that we at least think are right because of the actual definition of what it is. We know that if someone were to kill us, it would hurt like hell, and we would not be happy, of course. So we define our philosophy based on that, based on the self, based on us, what we know fundamentally we wouldn't like, and then we obviously pass that on out into the wider world as our philosophy, as what we choose to do. So, that's why I like to be kind to others. I like to do these things because I know that that's what I would like. And also there's an element of selfishness there, because if I'm kind to others, maybe I'll get something in return. And you see, that's one of my shadows again, going into Jungian theory again. Because, one of my shadows is that I am quite self-centered, or I'm quite narcissistic. So I have to realise that when I help people, I'm not only doing it to help them, which I am doing it to help them, but there's also a little piece of me that is saying, I wonder, if I help them, I might get something in return, or they might like me more. Like, you see, so, but I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that behind, all this sense of ego or psyche. I'm aware of that being present. So, yeah, this level of self-awareness, self-actualization, you could say spiritual awakening, not spiritual enlightenment, but spiritual awakening if you want. But it really depends on whether you subscribe to spirituality, and if you don't, then that's perfectly fine, because spirituality is a concept in itself anyway. But, it really depends on which way you want to look at it. If you want to look at it the scientific viewpoint, look at it the scientific viewpoint. If you want to look at it through mysticism or spirituality, go that route. If you want to look at it through religion, go that route. If you don't want to subscribe to any of this, which would be the best thing to do actually, or one of the most enlightened things you could do, or the most enlightened ways you could define a philosophy, and you don't look at any of this, you don't have any of it, and you just be inside yourself with a sense of deep self-philosophy, I suppose, or philosophy of the self, that would be, I suppose, one of the best ways to go about it. But, even saying that, because you're thinking, oh, well, that's the best philosophy to live by, i.e. living inside yourself and not subscribing to anything except what you can see, even that in itself is clinging to the idea that there is a best philosophy to live by. So then what you have to do is go one step further and not cling to the idea that it's the best philosophy, and let that go as well. Then, once you've let all that go, you would be regarded in terms of, Zen Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever, as having nirvana or moksha, or liberation from suffering, etc., because you have essentially let go from everything, Now, I understand that intellectually, but I haven't quite got there yet, because I am still battling with the concept of time, so I can't quite get rid of time yet. And this is why I still have my anxiety, you see, because I'm looking into the past, I'm looking into the future. And if I look into the future and I see the events that I don't particularly like, then that then gives me anxiety, because I'm worried about the future, or I'm bringing back things from the past that upset me in the past, and then mapping those thoughts and feelings that I had in the past onto the future. So then the way to alleviate anxiety is being in the present moment, mindfulness, meditation. That's what I'm doing at the moment to get some sort of level of sustainability with my anxiety. Now, of course, I just got very, very anxious about 8 minutes ago, and I kept on talking, and my anxiety has subsided, because I chose in that moment to not click the X on the recording and actually keep talking and be present and be aware that my anxiety is there, but not be caught up in it and thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen in the future? I'm aware of the present moment, and I continue my talk, and don't let the anxiety faze me too much. Now, I wouldn't ever say I'm a Zen master or anything like that, because there was still clearly a reaction from my ego when I was obviously saying to you guys, oh, I've got anxiety and I need to go now. That's the reaction of my ego, myself, that feels like, I'm here as me, and that, I need to go, I need to get out, when actually I don't. Whatever situation you're in, if you just be present in the moment, that anxiety will subside. But it's incredibly hard to do that, because we've been programmed again by society that this thing of time, present, past, future, actually exists, when actually, and this is going to sound really crazy to those who are really attached or clinging to this concept of time, it's going to sound really crazy, but actually there is only ever this present moment. There isn't the future, there isn't the past. You know, it sounds really crazy to some people, as I say, to think, but when you really look into it, when you really start to understand this beyond the realm of thought or concepts, you then start to realize actually that is exactly the truth, and that you can kind of live happy right now forever in this kind of moment, you know? It's very interesting. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know, is there any more questions before I get going? Yo, what do you think of Sikhism? I have only just looked into Sikhism, actually. I think it's quite a nice, as far as I'm aware, I mean, as I say, I've only very briefly looked into it, but I think it's quite a nice religion, actually. I think it's quite cool. Of course, it joined, what, I don't know whether it joins up Hinduism or Buddhism, but it was, I'm pretty sure it was taken, the person who developed it, who was, I don't know his name, but wasn't it, oh, what do we call them in Sikhism? They call them like gurus or something, don't they? And we've got like 12 or 6 or 12 or 14 or whatever, I don't know the number. But we've got a large amount of these gurus who lived. One of the gurus I remember was like 7 years old or something. I don't know whether that was when he died or when he became a guru or something, but that was interesting to see. But basically, I like this idea because it unifies two religions that I'm very fond of myself, with Buddhism and Hinduism. I'm so glad that I have been able to absorb Hinduism and Buddhism and learn about them, because when I was in high school, I brushed them off in religion, you know, religious studies. I was like, you know, I was thinking, oh yeah, Hinduism, Buddhism, yeah, they're probably like all the reincarnation stuff, and I don't believe in that, and all the rest of it. But it's deeper than that. I mean, Buddhism in itself, or Zen Buddhism, isn't actually a religion. When you actually practice it for long enough, you'll realise that there isn't any form of religion there, really. I mean, someone who is only somewhat aware of Zen, or has a slightly less Zen ability, may think, oh yes, it is religion, but actually it isn't. When you understand the koans, when you understand what they're telling you, like things like Ping Ting comes for fire, or what else, like well, this is more of a philosophical thought experiment than actually a Zen koan, but things like if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? When you truly understand those, beyond words, beyond concepts, then you'll realise that actually there isn't much religion or religious aspect to Zen Buddhism. But on the surface, there can be. With Hinduism, again, there is more of a religious aspect to Hinduism, but it depends on how you look at it. I mean, certainly with the idea of Leela, the divine play, that's definitely more religious. And of course, if we look at the gods like Shiva and Vishnu and Brahman and all this sort of stuff, there is some sort of religious basis there. So Hinduism is a bit more religious, but in terms of Leela, the divine play, that's something that I can really get on board with, and I can really feel, not necessarily that I believe in it, because belief is a tricky word, but that I understand it and that I can somewhat see where it's coming from. And I think to myself, that would be quite nice if that were real, if after death that were the case. But yeah, Hinduism's a little bit more religious than maybe something like Zen Buddhism. But Sikhism, as far as I'm aware, kind of takes little bits from both of them and creates a new religion. I think it was in the 1400s or 1500s. Fairly new religion, actually, considering Hinduism's been around way before Christ. Or before the Common Era, whichever one you want to choose. We've got Buddhism around, again, similar time, maybe a bit later, really, Buddhism. We've got Taoism, we've got Ruism or Confucianism, we've got legalism, we've got Moism. All these things were very, very early, Warring States period or Spring and Autumn period of sort of the a Chinese period of time, basically. And then you've got Neo-Taoism, which then inspired Buddhism, well, not Buddhism, but Zen Buddhism, I should say, or Chan Buddhism. And then, obviously, Zen Buddhism, the thing that I love, probably one of the most, was over in Japan, and that obviously really got underway in, like, the 1200s, 1300s, with one of the most well-known Zen masters out there, which is Dogen, of course, in the 1200s. But yeah, very, very interesting. And I do want to. I know I didn't really cover Sikhism that much then, but I really do need to research into it. Now you might be thinking, what is your aim with all this? Why are you like constantly talking about it? And what's going on? And why do you have so much passion for it and everything? Well, my aim with it is to create a philosophy channel in a few months' time. I really do want to get this right, though, because I have a lot of passion for it. I do have quite a bit of knowledge in it at the moment, after a few months or a year of studying it. But I really want to get this right, so I'm going to be doing more research into different religions, need to do a bit more research into Christianity, because I want to really formulate a channel on YouTube. And I know this channel's out there on philosophy anyway, but I really want to formulate a channel that people can come to, and that if they watch, once I've got a good few videos out there, if they watch it, they will feel a lot more happy inside themselves. They will feel more contented with death, because that's what I was searching for. That's why I chose spirituality and mysticism and religion and stuff. I wanted to feel a little bit more contented with death, even though really it's not really got me any. Electra's down there. She wants to go out. I don't know. It's not really got me any necessarily more answers. But it's certainly, I suppose it has made me a little bit less scared of all that, because of mystical experience, or if you see, this is the interesting thing as well, whether mystical experience is in fact ecological awareness, because I think Alan Watts mentioned that ecological awareness is just basically another name for mysticism, and I do think that, but I think that maybe mysticism is a little bit more enhanced than ecological awareness. Ecological awareness is can be done on an intellectual level, on like a thought level, whereas mystical experience can be done beyond that. So it's interesting to kind of debate whether they're the same thing or not. But yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, and through like mystical experience or ecological awareness, I've become a little bit, I suppose, less anxious or less afraid of this inevitable, because I can kind of let go of certain aspects of myself, or even let go of myself, to be able to be just be a bit more contented, and not not as afraid and stuff. But what really intrigues me, this is the most brilliant question, like the most brilliant thing that intrigues me, is that we can't necessarily say that the ego exists, but we can't get rid of it either. Now that really intrigues me. Now I'm hoping that in neuroscience in the future we could actually scientifically prove that the ego is within a certain part of our brain, and this would be brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because it would tell us that the ego is a physical thing, a physical presence, and that is why we can't get rid of it, even though or we feel like we end up slipping back into the ego. So it'd be interesting to see that if it's a physical presence or not. If it isn't a physical presence, then it doesn't really matter anyway, because you can that would maybe still explain some little bits and bobs about ego transcendence and stuff. But yeah, if it is a physical presence, again, I think that would explain more about ego transcendence, about what this actual thing is of ego or persona or self. It's very interesting, so interesting. You could try attaining spiritual enlightenment or go to the pub. Well, it doesn't really matter, because if you understand fundamentally that the concept of the mistakes doesn't even exist, really, enlightenment is essentially just what we're doing now, because we're just essentially, it's essentially just living life. It's really, really odd. But yeah, anyway, I will go. Yo, I left some information on Sikhs. Oh, thank you very much. I really like that. Sikhs are police officers of God and respects. Yes, that's what I love. Now, that's what I really loved about Sikhs. They respect every religion, and I think it's, if you go to, I don't know whether, I don't want to necessarily offend people, but I don't know what the place of worship is called. But if you, because I don't want to necessarily say it's a temple and it's not a temple or whatever, but if you go to their place of worship, I'm pretty sure what I read was that they accept people even of different faiths, and they will be welcoming of people of different faiths. Now, that was very, very interesting. It's called Gurwad. Oh, I can't say. These names kill me, in Hinduism and stuff. Like certain, and Buddhism, certain things like certain names kill me because I'm not very good at pronouncing them. Gurwara, I think it's Gurwara, something like that. It is a temple. It is a temple. Yes, I did hear of Gurwana actually when I was reading it, but I've not gone over it enough to be able to really think it. Think it through. We serve food to everyone, no matter who, completely free in the temple. Now that is weird. When I read a little bit about the whole every religion thing, that was very good. And I think that your first, was it a guru you called it? I'm not sure. But I think your first guru, when he died, he laid flowers either side of his body, right? And one was to signify Hinduism, was it? And one was to signify Buddhism. And one was to signify one thing, and one was to signify another. And then, basically, in the morning, the body had gone, and the flowers were, like, joined as one or something, to, like, kind of signify that we are kind of as one in terms of, it doesn't matter what you follow necessarily, but it's at one. It's very interesting. You will see information on him, meditation. I'm sure it will interest you. Yes, it will very much interest me. I'm very, Sikhism is one that I'm very interested in because I don't know much about it, This 10th gate, I need to go up a bit. The person who made it was called Guru Nanka, and he was born a Hindu. Yes, that was right. I've read about that as well. He said that there is no Hinduism and no Islam. Was it Islam? It wasn't Buddhism then. I was thinking, I don't know. I wasn't too sure whether I was right in saying Buddhism, but yeah, no Islam. Saying there is one God and we are all equal. In theory, Sikhism states there is no religion. Interesting. To connect God in Sikhism, you meditate upon God, chanting his name, connecting through the 10th gate in your head. This 10th gate is where the gate is to God, along with concepts such as the third eye. Sikhs wear turbans to stand out as well. That's interesting. Yeah, that's really, I do need to like do a lot more research into Sikhism, but it's very, very interesting. And it's just brilliant to see that there's more to religion than I first thought. Like, because of growing up from a Western culture, I was always like, oh, well, God's that thing, that person who, you need to follow all these rules, etc. But there's more to religion than that, and certain religions interest me massively because they, they're just cool, they're just cool. And I know that might, like, be really weird because people will be like, religion, cool, it's not cool, but I find it very, very cool. I do find it very, very cool. And I just can't get enough. I can't get enough of, God is more like an energy than an actual being. Yeah. So is that similar to what Sikhs believe then? They believe it's kind of this energy. Because that's interesting. I really would like to learn about every single religion in the world if I can, which is a very, very incredibly hard task, but really learn about all these religions and make connections and see if I can't kind of try and formulate one ideology that says this is probably true. This is like so close to the truth that you could get, kind of thing. Like, this is what happens after death. This is this. And I know it's I'm setting myself up for an impossible task here. But since I was very, very young, since I was like 14, 15, I always wanted to try and prove in some way what this all is. What is all of this? Try and prove it. And in this skeptical age of, people like not liking, well, not necessarily not liking religion, but maybe some people turning away from religion to atheism, I need to be able to do this with scientific validity. Otherwise, those people aren't going to trust me. The good thing is that between spirituality and science, there is quite a few connections there, and actually things that we can prove spiritually tie in with science quite nicely. So all I would need to do is connect all these things together, which I do believe I could do, but the problem is I probably wouldn't have time to do it. I'd need my work to be progressed by more and more people down a line of maybe a couple of 100 years or something. But make all these connections and then be able to somehow prove this is like it's like kind of more than likely, 95% likely that this is what this is. This is what this energy, this universe, this God, this earth, the divine, whatever, this is what it is. And you don't need to worry. But saying that, the Upanishads, the Hindu texts, have a saying that if you don't understand, if you think you understand Brahman, which is the ultimate reality or the energy of God or whatever you want to call it, it's a bit more to that, I suppose. But if you understand that, then you don't understand it. And if you don't understand it, then you truly understand it. So at this moment, I don't understand Brahman. I have somewhat of a clue of how it kind of manifests itself in this realm, in this world or whatever, but I don't know it any more than that. So therefore I truly understand Brahman because I don't understand it. So if we now start to, in that similar thinking, if we now start to really look into what it is, then are we doing that a disservice? Are we doing that energy or that God a disservice by doing it? Are we showing lack of faith in that respect? And it seems to me that maybe we are. So we then go back to the philosophy of just living a life just to live life, essentially, and enjoy life, But it's very hard for someone who, they're kind of, I would say, my svadharma, which is basically like an inner duty, like to really like this is my one duty, let's say. So I would say, as someone with a swadharma of philosophy, my life has to be centered around trying to find these answers, because that's what never makes me restless. That's what is my kind of my true passion. So if we actually say that, it's hard for me, because I shouldn't really need to look into it. I should really, the whole philosophy should be just living life, but because that's my one truth or my one duty, I feel I need to look into it. But actually I don't really need to, because really living life is basically it. That's basically what this is all about, living life. But yeah, so it's a bit of it's quite hard to understand, actually. It's kind of like a paradox. It's like a paradoxical thing, really, with me, because I know that really I shouldn't find out the answers. I shouldn't progress so far that I need to find out all the answers. But yeah, follow the evidence, not the claim. You'll always find out the truth that way. Follow the evidence. Yes, that is very good. That's interesting, because that's going down the route of Zen Buddhism, which is all about viewing exactly what is. So if you can see it, if you can touch it, if you, and you experience it without saying words, because words are a concept. So if you can experience it directly, that is where, that is basically where the truth lies, because you've got evidence. It's there right in front of you. You can see it, you can touch it. It's a little bit of an over-exaggeration to maybe say it's reality, because it's tricky to say what reality really is. It's a bit of a tricky word, but it's probably the best evidence you're going to get in terms of moving away from just human thought and human concept. So I would massively agree with that it has to be done like that. So that's what I'm doing. So there's certain things that I'm looking at in terms of the natural environment of how I can make people be aware of maybe a certain energy or a certain God existing because of what we can evidently see in the natural environment without tainting it too much. But even by expressing it via words, you are tainting it a little bit. So yeah, you can't really ever get it too right, really, but you don't need to anyway, really. Hey, this is a bit correct. A mountain being there is only proof the mountains exist. It's proof of nothing else. Yeah, very true, but you've also got to be aware that the mountain, or the thing you call a mountain, and this is going back to Zen again, what you call a mountain is just made up of different components to then make up that mountain. So you're labeling a mountain, but actually it's made up of different components. For example, it's made up of rocks. It's made up of, I don't know, little bits of grass or whatever in the mountain. It's made up of dirt. It's made up with things like that. So the mountain isn't really even a mountain. It's just made up of all these individual parts, And then you go further and you think, well, what's, like, you say grass, but grass is made up of other individual parts. So then you're labeling grass as something, but actually it's not really something. It's made up of other things. So it's interesting in that respect. And that's why you have the Zen Buddhist principle of everything being one, everything like basically non-duality, which is not two. So although you can see it as two, like I'm here, the mountain's there, using polar thinking or polar feeling, you can then experience them as non-dual or non-dualistic, which is experiencing them as not two. But that's the more religious side of Zen Buddhism, opposed to the final realization of essentially non-concepts, living outside the realm of concepts, which is more the non-religious side of Zen Buddhism. But it's very interesting. I'm an atheist. I do good because I want to, not because I feel I'll get rewarded after. That for me is false. Yes, it is. However, if you say, and I'm not saying that you do this, but if you say, I'm going to do good for people because I want to, right? And if you're completely genuine in that pursuit, then brilliant, that's perfect. But if I were to say, I want to do good for other people because I'm selfless, right? Because I'm selfless, I would be lying to myself. And that lie would then breed negativity and fear inside my own mind. So that would then essentially create a higher or a larger sense of negative ego for myself, which would then breed more fear and more hate towards others. So what I do instead, because I know quite clearly the shadows inside my mind don't necessarily just want to help people just to help them, what I do is I say, and I touched on this earlier, I don't know whether you were in, maybe you were because you brought up that comment, but I say, look, I do want to help people. There's a big part of me that does want to help people, but the shadow side of my ego, or the shadows inside me, also am fully aware that I am somewhat selfish. So I will also state to you that, yes, I want to help you, I love you, etc. But there is a part of me that is just doing this for myself as well, because I am completely self-aware, you see. It's this self-awareness. If you are completely self-aware in that respect, and you can be honest in that way. Now, I would stress, don't always be completely honest, because I've done that before. I went down the road of trying to be completely honest, because, again, that's one of the things that Alan Watts talks about and stuff, honesty. And I went down, I thought, right, because what I did when I was looking into Alan Watts, I basically actually did everything he was saying. So he said, watch everything and do, and I spent periods of weeks and weeks doing these different things. Like, I tried to get rid of the ego and realised that couldn't be, that wasn't a possibility and stuff after a lot of sort of intellectual debate with myself and dialogue. But I realised that if I'm completely self-aware and if I'm honest to a degree of maybe 90 to 95%, with that 5% being dishonest in terms of not being honest towards people, but what I do is generally I use that 5% of lying because I know I can't be 100% genuine all the time, because you start hurting people. If you're 100% genuine towards people all the time, you'll realise that actually you then start to project too much onto them and start actually hurting them, hurting their feelings, etc. So what I do is I use about 5% of the time of doing white lies, very, very small little things, like just maybe to myself or whatever, but just little things. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what I could say, but maybe saying to someone, "Oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes, but I'll be there in 15 minutes or something," and I know full well, having been aware of myself, that I am going to be there in 15 minutes, but I'm going to say 5 minutes because I want them. I know that if I don't know, if I'm always genuine with if I'm always genuine with things, it starts to hurt people. Because I had this is a better example. Right, so you don't like the look of someone necessarily, or aesthetically someone's not incredibly pleasing to you, or you don't like something on the face or whatever. If you're 100% genuine and you say, "I don't like that about you," then that's when it can get into the realm of kind of hurting people and stuff. So there will be a way around that to be able to be genuine without hurting people's feelings, but being able to get those genuine feelings out. But you've got to be careful with how you do it. This being genuine all the time isn't going to help you massively. You've got to be genuine most of the time, but not all of the time. Hey, this is a bit off topic, but I have my GCSEs in a month's time, and I'm nervous. How do I gain motivation? Any tips on revision or anything? For me, I'm confused on maths and how to revise on it. I didn't do any revision. I did pretty poorly for my GCSEs, so I wouldn't ask me. I got 4 C's or something, 5 C's, maybe 5 or 6 C's, maybe, I don't know, maybe not 4, but 5 or 6 C's, and then a couple of D's, and then maybe 1 or 2 B's. So I didn't get, I wasn't A stars or A's or anything. So I didn't do any revision. I was just it'll be alright. As long as I get scraped through with some C's, that'll be okay. But yeah, so I can't really comment. I'd just say try your best to keep revising. Maybe do 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off kind of thing. My friend actually, who got all A's, he got 1 or 2 B's, but he got all A's or A stars. He then went to A level and he got 2 A stars and 1 A at A level. He then went to medical school and he's now training to become a junior doctor. Some of you will know him on the channel anyway. Obviously Daniel, who's been on the channel a while, or a few times in the past, especially in the comedy shorts. What he did is, his dad was quite strict with him, which has turned out brilliantly actually, because he's done so phenomenally well. But his dad was quite strict with him, and he'd say, "Right, come on, you got to do some revision, etc." throughout high school exams, college exams, etc. And then, of course, well, in college he was a bit more self-managing of his motivation. But in the beginning, his dad was quite strict, and he basically said to him, do a couple of hours on, an hour off, or do an hour on, half an hour off, or whatever it may be. I can't remember what it exactly was, but that worked really well for him. So it was really annoying for me and his brother Ryan, because for over maybe 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 summers, we were playing out and going down the park and stuff and playing footy and stuff, and Danny wasn't able to be there that much. But he would basically say to us, look, I've got an hour off this time in the day, I've got an hour off this time of the day, I'll come down to the park, we'll play for an hour, and then I'll come back, do some revision. So it's kind of about this balance of giving yourself a reward, and being able to experience the reward, being able to go out and enjoy it, but then holding yourself to this idea of, this is the time I've got to work, and it doesn't matter so much like if I get loads done or if I don't get loads done, but it's this kind of flow of at least trying to do some work, you know, at least trying to do something. Otherwise, otherwise it's kind of pointless really to even have that hourly allotted system. But at least in that hour, try and sit down and do a bit of work. And some of the hours, you might think, and I'm sure Danny had this, I don't know because I wasn't with him when he was revising, but I'm sure some of the hours when he was revising, he probably got hardly anything done. But then other hours he was really productive, because it's just this flow, isn't it, of sometimes you're motivated, sometimes you're not motivated, but just doing what you can, essentially just doing what you can. And that should really help you out, as I say, it's worked for my friend. Now it will be somewhat determinant, if I can even say it, if that's a word, I don't know. Determinant, or I don't even know if that's a word, but we're going to go with it. It's going to be somewhat determinant of your personality as well. So someone who doesn't particularly like schedules and stuff, that might have a negative effect on you. So you might want to break it up into smaller steps, and maybe the first day you have this schedule, you're a little bit more lenient with yourself, and you give yourself a little bit more time not working than working, and break yourself into this schedule in a kind way for yourself. But then slowly build up to do more and more work opposed to less and less work. So depending on your personality, of course. For me, schedules and stuff I've not tried them too much, but I would say they don't work brilliantly, because because I've got a rebellious nature. I end up like thinking, well, I don't want to stick to this schedule or whatever. That's kind of part of me. So of course I could train myself to work by a schedule. It'd probably take a few weeks to actually do that, and then I could actually train myself and kind of mold my personality or shape my personality a little bit more around it. However, that base nature of myself of being a bit rebellious is never really going to go away. So I might not ever be able to work at a schedule like someone else who is more conscientious or attentive, or maybe a bit more disciplined than me, would be able to work to a schedule. So yeah, it's one of those things that you've got to assess who you are before you start to assess how you're going to do something. You've got to understand yourself. Again, it's this level that keeps coming back to self-awareness. Everything. I truly believe self-awareness. If you are aware of yourself on a deep level, on every sort of part of your psyche, on your shadows, on your good points, on your how you work, on your personality traits. You could do the Big 5 personality traits test. You could do the Bellman team roles test to assess what sort of team role you fit best in. But really understanding yourself on this fundamental level before you even start to think about how you're going to work. Because if you understand the nature of how you work, or how you are best suited to work, then you can really structure a framework in which to actually work effectively. Otherwise, if you don't understand yourself and you have no self-awareness to what who you are, or what things work well for you or what things don't, you'll just be basically, to use a British phrase, throwing S at the wall, basically. So yeah, and seeing what sticks, of course. But so yeah, self-awareness first, learning about yourself, then trying to understand, actually understand how you can work. Wish my chat day was today. Wish my chat day was today. What are you on about? What chat day? I don't know. Oh, Darren's in. Hi there, Darren. Car boot collectors are in. Right, anyway, I'm going to go now. I said it was going to be half an hour. I said, yeah, revising 15-minute blocks, that might work. It doesn't, like I was saying, 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, doesn't matter. It could be 15 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't, like, maybe that would be a good idea to start with, actually. You start with 15 minutes. Then maybe if you feel like you could go to 30 minutes, you go to 30 minutes, and then do like a little on-off situation, and just work it around you, basically. But anyway, I'm going to go now. Apologies that I've stuck for so long, but I'll leave it there, and